Okay, so for this one here, we're going to talk about graphing lines in slope-intercept form. So this time, you guys have a line, okay, and then you guys are going to be asked to draw that line down here on the graph. So, starting out, steps for this one. Just like before, step 1, okay, we need to find our y-intercept, and we're going to graph our y-intercept. Okay? Step 2, I forgot the 1 there, sorry. Step 2, we are going to plot a second point using our slope. Okay? And then step 3 is you are going to draw a line between the 2 points. Okay? So it's pretty much the same thing. We're going to figure out what is our y-intercept, and then you're going to plot that point for your y-intercept. Then you're going to look at your slope, okay, and you are going to plot a second point using your slope. So we're going to count up or count down, and then count left or count right. Okay? And then after that, you're going to draw a line between those 2 points. So nothing too tricky. You guys have seen this before, so hopefully you feel okay with this. Okay? So starting out with identifying my y-intercept, and I've also got to identify my slope. Remember our formula is y equals mx plus b. Okay? So, if you guys are looking at that over the top of each other, my y-intercept, well, my y-intercept is right here, right? And what's in its spot? It's a 1. Okay? So our y-intercept in this case is 1. So we are going to go to our y-axis. Go to your y-axis here and plot a point at 1. Okay? Next, we need to identify what our slope is. Well, our slope is right here in the equation. It's the number in front of the x. So what is my slope? Well, my slope is 3. Okay? Now I put this one on here because this has something that you need to remember. Remember, your slope is rise over run. Okay? So our slope should be a ratio. Our slope should be a fraction. But 3 is not a fraction. So can we turn 3 into a fraction? Yes, we can. We can put it over 1. Okay? So our slope for this one is a 3 over 1. 3 over 1. So that means that my rise of this is going to be 3. So I'm going to start at my y-intercept here, and I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go up 3, and I'm going to go to the right 1. Up 3 to the right 1, and then I can put a second point there. Okay? Also, there's another way that you can draw this. You could make that a negative and make that a negative. Because what is negative 3 over a negative 1? Well, 2 negatives make that a positive 3, which is still our slope. So I could also, since I have a rise of negative 3, I could also go down 3 and to the left 1. Okay, there are 2 options for how you could draw your slope there. And if you guys notice, when you draw your line through these, that is going to go straight through. So it doesn't matter if it's both negative, doesn't matter if it's both positive in that case. Okay? When I draw these lines, I like to try and draw them straight. So I actually draw as many points as I can based on my slope. So I would start at this point here, and I'd say, okay, 1, 2, 3 over 1. I'd do the same thing down here. I'd go 1, 2, 3 to the left 1. Okay, I just try to put as many points as I can because it helps me to draw a straighter line. Okay, not saying you guys have to do that, but you do need at least 2 points when you're drawing these. Okay, so once we get our points on there, at least 2 points. I like to draw them all the way through. I would encourage you guys to do that. It'll help you draw a straighter line. But then after we do that, we need to draw our line all the way through the graph. Okay, coming back over here to this next one, y-intercept. Well, our y-intercept on this one would be a negative 5. Okay, if there's a negative in front, we have to include that as well. So our y-intercept would be a negative 5 on this. Our slope is a negative 1/3. Okay, we'll talk about how to handle that negative here in a second. But start out with your y-intercept. you're going to find your y-axis, and you're going to put a point down here on -5. Okay? Then we've got to remember our slope is rise over run. Okay? But if I'm looking at that negative's out in front. So where does that negative go? Okay? So I usually have a couple different people offer up ideas. One of the ideas is that the negative goes to both of them. And that is incorrect. The negative does not go to both. Because if you had a if you have a -1 over -3, two negatives would make that a positive. And those two numbers do not match up, right? So what you need to remember is if you have a negative that is out in front, that negative goes to either the top or the bottom. And you get to pick which one. You either put it to the top or put it to the bottom. So you could do -1 over 3, or you could do 1 over -3. Either one of those would work. Okay? So the first one I'm going to do is I'll do -1 over 3. So -1 for my rise means I go down 1. And then a +3 for my run means I go to the right 3. So I'd have a point right here. The other option that you could do, I'll do this one in red, would be a +1 over a -3, so up 1 to the left 3. Okay? That would also work. And again, I like to put as many dots as I can, so 1 over 3, and I go 1 over 3. Okay? And I'm going to draw my line through those points. Okay? So that's our steps for graphing lines in slope-intercept form. On this next slide here, I want you guys to pause the video. I want you guys to go ahead and graph these lines. Okay? Hopefully you've got those paused. We're going to identify our y-intercept. That would be our b. And we are going to identify our slope. That would be my -2. Okay? So I'm going to plot my y-intercept, which is at a +4. Okay? And I'm going to take my slope. Slope is rise over run. So remember, I have to put that over 1. It's -2 over 1. Okay? So for my slope, I can go down 2 to the right 1 and put my point there. Okay? I could also, if I wanted to, make this a +2 over -1. That would also work. So you would go up 2 to the left 1. Whoops. Sorry, I meant to put that in blue. Okay? -1's on the bottom, so we go to the left 1. Either one of those work. Again, I like to put as many as I can on here. Just following that pattern helps to draw a straighter line. Sometimes helps to draw a straighter line. Okay? Hopefully that one you guys felt pretty comfortable with. This one over here, y equals 5/2 x. Identify our slope, identify our y-intercept. So there's our slope. Where the heck's our y-intercept? Well, remember, slope is y equals mx plus b. So there is a plus something out here. Okay? But we didn't write anything. A lot of kids might say, hey, that's probably a +1. Well, if it was a +1, they'd write +1 out there, right? So what number would they just get rid of and not write? Well, that would be a +0. Okay? So if you see a problem where there is no y-intercept written, okay, that means that your y-intercept is at 0. Okay? So this one has a y-intercept at 0. For my slope, I've got 5 over 2, so that's a rise of 5. Rise of 5 and a run of 2. Remember, you could also, since that's positive, you could also make them both negative, where you'd go down 5 and to the left 2. That would work as well. Okay, we really can't put any other points in that. Ooh, that was not my best line. Okay, sorry about that. All right. Then, one more. There are two special cases when graphing lines. Y equals 2 and x equals -3. Okay? These are your two cases that are horizontal and vertical lines. And a lot of people struggle with, well, how do I know which one's horizontal and which one's vertical? This is what I'm going to tell you guys to do. If you see y equals 2, we're going to think about points. So our points are written in the XY form. I want you guys to list off as many points as you can where your Y value equals 2. So we could have a 0 with a Y value equaling 2. I could have a -3 with a Y value equaling 2. I could have 4 with a Y value equaling 2. Okay? All of those points are going to be on this line because all of those points have a Y value that equals 2. So 0, 2, -3, 2, and 4, 2. So what kind of line is this based on you guys graphing those points where Y equals 2? Well, that would be a horizontal line. Okay? Vice versa, if I have an X equals -3, okay, we're going to write a bunch of points where our X is -3. So I could have -3, 2. I could have -3, 0. I could have -3, -5. Those are all points where my X value is -3, right? So if I graph -3, 2, there's -3, 0, there's -3, -5. Okay, well, based on those points that you found, what kind of line is this? This would be a vertical line. Okay, so X equals -3 is going to end up being a vertical line. Okay, one more video left after this.